Welcome everybody to today's episode of Joey's Garage. It is with great pleasure I get to announce the newest addition to my garage and the project that we're going to be working on together. But before I do that, I'd like to thank everybody who liked, subscribed, commented on my last set of videos about the motor flush. I really appreciate all the feedback that I got, and one of the biggest things was that no, it wasn't a paid advertisement. I didn't get paid from the company. It was just a product that I like to use, and I want to see if it was effective or not. So all the haters out there, that's what it is. So with that, my newest addition is going to be a motorcycle. It's been something I've been wanting to do for a while. I love riding the two-wheeler, the bikes. I got the scooter, but I just done everything that I could on it. There's not too many things. There's going to be a couple more videos that I'll come in with while I'm working on the motorcycle, but it's going to be something new, and it's going to be a project we're going to be working on together. So it's a 1986 Honda Shadow. It's a 700cc. It's a water-cooled. And my 5-year-old daughter has already named it Starfire. I have no idea where she got that from. All she would tell me is, Daddy, it's from my cartoons. So if you know exactly where that's coming from, send me a comment on the video, and hopefully I can figure it out and not look like, an old dad, pretty much. So with that, let's take a look at the bike, and I'll show exactly what shape it's in, and also go through kind of a buying guide if you want to get a motorcycle yourself, of what exactly to look for, and decide if you want kind of like a project, a garage project where you're going to restore it a little bit, you're going to work on it, or if you want more of a turnkey motorcycle where you can ride it off the lot, ride it off some private property, whoever's selling it, where you can ride it right away. So follow me to the garage and I'll show you exactly what condition it's in. So this is going to be my 1986 Honda Shadow. Now if you were looking at this for the first time, thinking about buying it, here are going to be some suggestions and just some tips that you should look for if you're looking into buying one. As always, first you need to decide, are you going to be restoring it, or are you going to be riding it off the lot or out of the garage or whatever. So for this one, I'm looking for something to restore. I don't want too much work, but I do want to do a little bit of work on it. It's going to be a lot, but and that's another thing. So you just want to take a look at it, just like if you're buying a car. You see if there's any huge damage to it, if anything's bent. But pretty much it looks good. I mean, the panels I've already taken off because I've been checking out the wiring. I had the battery taken out, so that's no big deal. So on the outside wise, like the body wise, it looks fine. I got all the pieces that I need. So the next thing, just like if you're looking at a car, is take a look underneath. See if there's any oil, any fluids leaking out of it. With this one, it's been sitting in my garage for about 2 weeks, and I haven't had a single drop of fluid drip out. I did check the oil, and there is oil in the engine. It looks pretty good. It doesn't look too contaminated. So I'm pretty happy that everything is sealed up, and at least sealed up as it should be. So the next thing you want to do is just take a closer look at each part. So for the brakes, I already decided that I'm going to have to replace them anyways, because that's just the main safety feature of the whole bike. So I didn't want to chance it to restoring anything. So I have new brakes on the way. I did have to take out the pads on this one because they were seized up. So I was pretty decided already that the brakes would have to be done. So next are the hoses. The hoses look good. And then up in here, there's a panel missing. I already knew about that. I have it already. But some of the wiring does look like it was spliced into by somebody else. That's not factory right there. So, there's another one right there. Good example. So I know for sure somebody was tinkering around with the wiring and the electrical. So I know for sure I'll have to go into that. I'll have to, get my voltmeter, my multimeter, and trace back exactly what wires do what, and I'll have to fix those up. And from there, looking at the handlebars, they all look good. The clutch moves good. All the switches move. And the throttle is not going to work since the carburetor isn't on. The throttle cables are right there. But there's nice. It feels alright. Missing the front piece right here, but that's going to be another project on its own. I'll just have to find a replacement for it. but I have the key, so ignition doesn't have to be, changed out. Got the tank right here. It looks alright. I mean, I'm going to have to replace it anyways. There's a huge hole right here. It's not huge, but I mean, it's enough that it's rusted out, and the tank probably won't be able to be saved. And then same thing with down the inside. Hopefully I'll be able to get that. So you can see it's just rusted real badly. It just sat for so long. There's holes in it, and it can't be salvaged. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's sad. But so tank's gonna have to be replaced. Got the seat. Seat looks good. I mean, there's no tears, no holes in that, so that's a plus. I don't have to get it reupholster it myself. And the back seat too. So on that end, I mean, the outside wise, if you're looking at a car just like the cosmetics, it isn't too bad. There's a couple projects that you would have to do, but like I said, it is going to be a project bike. It's not something that you just roll off the lot or roll out of somebody's garage with. So next would be actually looking at the actual engine. So when I bought this bike, I knew already that the carburetor was taken apart and it was sitting in a box somewhere. The previous owner, he said he got it taken off and he just didn't know how to put it back together. He lost interest, so it just sat there. So the biggest thing for me when I was going to look at it was exactly how it was stored. Now with the carburetor off, the biggest thing is that you don't want anything falling into the engine. So that was the biggest thing for me, is to come look at this bike, how it was stored, and how the engine was protected. And I was very happy to see that there's a plastic bag put over the intake manifolds. So the engine was protected from any dirt, debris, any leaves, twigs, berries, anything like that that would have fallen into the engine. So with that, and you can even, I don't know if it'll come out, but there's even dirt on the bag. So I know for sure that the owner, or the previous owner, he had the carburetor taken off, he put it on that bag, and the bag sat there for the couple years that it sat in the garage. So next, just checking out the engine. Everything looks good on it. I mean, the hoses, some of them look pretty bad, but I'm going to replace all of them anyways. There's going to be new fuel lines, and there's also going to be new vacuum lines. So I'm not too concerned about that. The radiator hoses and actual pipes look very good. I'm happy that most of these won't have to be replaced. Some of them I will. We'll have to, cross that bridge when we get to it. But they're not too bad. All the pieces are there. So from there, all the plastic pieces I've already taken off. But I know they have them, so as I said, that's the outside version. And just the next thing, since we know it's not running, I mean, it doesn't have a carburetor on it, but we want to check the transmission. So since I put it on the center stand, we'll be able to spin this wheel and see exactly what's going on. So right now, I got it engaged in the gear, so it's not moving any. So that's a good sign right there. We know that the actual gear is engaged. So I'll just come over here to the shifter, put it down all the way into first gear, and then give it a little half turn into neutral. And now I can spin my wheels, or spin the back wheel at least. So now I know for sure that, yeah, the clutch probably is a little bad. I'm guessing just because it has 31,000 miles on it, which is not bad for an 86. I mean, geez, that's about 2 decades almost. So, but the clutch may need to be, worked on a little bit, but right now it's not too bad. And it frees, or it spins, it actually works. And then when we're back here checking on that, we can see that the tires also look good. There's no sign of dry rot, they're dirty. There's no holes, nothing like that, so I'm happy with that also. So the next thing, we just keep looking around. We'll come back to the other side. And we see the struts, they look good. Exhaust. I mean, there's a couple little bit of, rust on there, but they don't look too bad. There's no holes in them, so they don't have to be replaced, the exhaust. I mean, if you don't want to have that, little bit of patina on it, I guess, the fancy name is called for it. I just call it wear. So, and of course it needs to be cleaned. But that is pretty much it. Like I said, this is going to be a restoring project. There's going to be plenty of stuff to do on it, and I'll do videos on all of it. So I was looking on YouTube, and there's some videos for Honda Shadows, but they're a little bit of the older versions, and they're also the bigger versions. I can't find too many on the 86, which is a very particular one, just because over here, if you noticed, there's a drivetrain. It's not the belt like a typical motorcycle is. It actually has a whole, pretty much, a drive shaft that runs from the engine, comes back here, and then it has a U-joint right in here that meets in the gearbox. So, like I said, there's going to be a lot of projects to do. I'm going to have to get the brakes. I'll redo these. I'll have to take off the wheel, make sure that axle's working good, make sure it's greased up, clean up the disc, do the pads, make sure the brakes are good. The radiator is going to have to be flushed. It has to be cleaned out and check all the hoses. Same thing with the engine. It's going to have to be flushed out. Hopefully that's going to run. I'm hoping that it's not going to have to be rebuilt the top end. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it also. Get back to the clutch. That one's going to have to be drained out, the clutch fluid. And that's going to be adjusted if it is. I actually believe with this one it's actually motor oil that's in the between, or the motor oil shares with the engine and also with the clutch. And then the drive shaft should be good. The fuel tank, the reserve, is going to probably have to be cleaned out. I'm going to have to check inside of it, see if there's any rust, anything like that. If there is going to have to be cleaned out. And then of course the main tank, that one's going to have to be replaced. And then back here in the gearbox, it's also going to have to be flushed out also. That one's going to be a tougher one. That's more of just putting in new oil, flushing it out, putting in new, flushing it out with some WD-40, something like that, and then putting in new, flush it out, and then use that. And pretty much for the first weeks, it's going to be changing out the motor oil and the gearbox oil every week, just to make sure that I clean out all the debris and I get a good set of fluids in there. On the top, the clutch fluid right here, since it's hydraulic, engaging and disengaging, I'm going to have to change that out. And then also for the brakes too, the brake fluid is going to have to be changed out. So that's a whole other project right there. So that's pretty much the bike in a nutshell. As I said, I purchased this as a project bike pretty much. I wanted something that I can work on my garage and learn about motorcycles. I mean, they're not too different from the scooters, but they are a bigger engine and just a little bit more complicated, but not too much. And with that, that wraps up another episode of Joey's Garage. And that's the first one of my Honda Shadow 1986 rebuild. I hope I gave out some good information. I helped you out if you're looking to buy a motorcycle yourself. As I said, it's just kind of a common sense kind of thing. I don't have some checklists, some other YouTubers like Chris Fix, and you can scan them, download them, print them out, all that stuff. Just use your common sense. You look at it. Is it leaking? Is there any oil on the ground? That kind of thing. Look at the exterior. Are you going to have to buy body parts? And then with that, you have to look, alright, are parts available? Or you'll be able to buy them online, get them new, used, refurbished. You have to look at the market, see if you're able to find them. And then after that, look at the hardware part. Are the engine okay? The transmission? Are you going to have to rebuild all that? So with that, I'd like to say thank you for everybody who's watching. If you like the video, like it, subscribe it, comment, and tell me if you have a better name for it. Like I said, my 5-year-old came up with Starfire. I have no idea where that comes from. Tell me about that also. And if you have a better suggestion, let me know. I'm still open. So with that, stay safe and keep 2 wheels on the road.